Ferguson to deliver that. I also want to thank you, Jesse, for all that you do for equality in this country, for this movement. Jesse and his husband, Justin, have spent years fighting for marriage here in California, across this country, and we are truly fortunate to have them joining us here tonight. I also want to thank and acknowledge our HRC Los Angeles family, your LA steering committee members, your dinner co-chairs, Ted and Gwen, your tireless advocates on HRC's Board of Governors, and your Southern California members of HRC's National Board of Directors, Gwen Baba, Steve Sorensen, Elena Baca, Brad White, Andy Linsky, and Alan Uphold. Southern California is well represented on our Board of Directors. My friends, for 5 years, 5 long years, Proposition 8 was a dark stain on the history of this state. Our opponents saw it as their biggest victory yet. And on election night in 2008, they bragged that we had lost and that the battle in California was over. But it was because of the courage of so many in this room that 5 years ago we came together and we made a promise. We made a promise that this fight is not over and we will win. And I want to thank my friend Adam Moonhafer and my colleagues at the American Foundation for Equal Rights for their incredible leadership. But you see, at the end of the day, it was 2 couples, Chris Perry and Sandy Steer, and Paul Katami and Jeff Cirillo, who had a decisive moment. You see, they put their lives on hold. They put their families on the line for all of us. They knew we were counting on them. And they woke up ready to fight every single day until that promise was fulfilled. 2 of those plaintiffs who truly changed the course of history are here with us in the room tonight. Paul and Jeff, will you please stand up? Make no mistake about it, all of you, all of us helped make 2013 the most successful year in the history of the LGBT movement. Just think about it. Think about all we've accomplished since we were all together in this room last year. Not just the end of Prop 8, but the destruction of DOMA and its more than 2 decades of discrimination. The bipartisan passage of NDA in the United States Senate and new bipartisan support in the House. And marriage equality not just in the great state of California, but in Maine, Maryland, Washington, Rhode Island, Delaware, Minnesota, New Jersey, Hawaii, Illinois, New Mexico, 200 couples in Michigan. My personal favorite, 1,360 couples in the Mormon state of Utah. Your work for the past 3 decades, that's what made these victories possible. But even after all that, there's a reason why every single one of us is still here in this room tonight. We're here because we see and we feel the injustice every day. Whether it's splashed in the newspapers or increasingly, not just in this country, but making headlines around the world. And sometimes for many of you, even in your own lives, in your church, in your workplace, and even at school. We're here for the millions of LGBT people in the 32 states, where Paul and Jeff, they still couldn't get married today. And the 29 states, where Chris and Sandy, they could still be fired simply because of who they are. We're here because, as Dr. King said, and our brilliant Attorney General quoted this line, but what's not often quoted is what comes just before that. I cannot sit idly by in Atlanta, he said, or in our case, Los Angeles, and not be concerned about what's happening in Birmingham. And injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Folks, we're here in this room tonight because we are the lucky ones. And we know that what Dr. King said, it wasn't an empty phrase. Our legal equality, it isn't a privilege. It's a responsibility. More than that, it's a duty. If we are content with the victories in our own backyard, if we stop fighting in Birmingham because we won in Burbank, then we are no better than the millions that once stood in our way. Every action we don't take and every contribution we don't make is a brick in that wall of discrimination. And that wall today is strong as ever. Today it divides this country into two Americas, two distinctly different Americas. In one America, like right here in California, our work is paid off. Full legal equality is nearly a reality. But in the other America, like in my own home state of Arkansas, or throughout the Midwest and across the South, even the most basic protections of the law are non-existent. No inclusive non-discrimination protections, no reliable access to affordable HIV care, no right for same-sex couples to adopt a child together, and certainly no marriage equality. We're here tonight because we know that this organization, because of you, has the power to change all of that. And frankly, the need and the demand for our work, it's never been greater. I want to give you one example. After those incredible, historic rulings last summer at the Supreme Court, HRC went on a tour across the South. I went home to Arkansas, and then to Charlotte, North Carolina, to Richmond, Virginia, and finally to Jackson, Mississippi. Now, I won't tell you about that entire trip, although I certainly could. But I do want to share one story that I will never forget for the rest of my life. You see, there's no one in the state of Mississippi that works full-time on LGBT issues. There's no statewide organization. We have allies. So when we went there, we convened a lunch downtown Jackson, a small restaurant, and we pulled together allies from across that state. A table that had never been convened in the history of our movement. Allies who worked in other organizations that cared about our issues. We went into this room and we were all seated around a lengthy table. And we were given two choices by the one waiter who was serving us all. We could either have fried chicken sandwiches, or for the vegetarians in the room, fried green tomato sandwiches. I had one of each. The only other thing that this young man said we were going in is, do you want sweet or unsweetened tea? And then the lunch began. And each of us, one by one, we went around the table and talked about why we were there. Each of our own individual commitment to this issue. And we talked about what we could do in a state like Mississippi that has no protections, no statewide or municipal protections. And as we finished, we were all feeling real good about ourselves and talking about how we would reconvene that lunch. A few months. And all of a sudden, that waiter who had been serving us, he stepped up, came right up to the table, and he looked at all of us and he said, "This may be completely inappropriate, but I want to introduce myself." He said, "My name's Cody. I'm 25 years old. I came out of the closet a year and a half ago. 6 months ago, I was diagnosed as HIV positive." Cody went on to say that since then there has not been a single day in his life that he didn't feel helpless and hopeless. And then he talked about the difference that it made to be in a room for him. Hearing people talk about him, where he is. He had hope, he said. Now, I don't have to tell you that when Cody walked out of that room, he left the most well-connected person in Jackson, Mississippi. But what about everyone else? What about the millions of LGBT people like him all across this country? My friends, we can never forget that when we first challenged Proposition 8 in 2009, we all of us, put our faith in Chris and Sandy and in Paul and Jeff. We counted on them. But now, it's 2014. And folks like Cody, they're counting on us. There is no question. There's no question that at this historic moment of opportunity, we have victories behind us, and we certainly have great hope ahead of us. But the question tonight for all of us in this room is what are we going to do for them? What are we going to do? We have got to fight and win. We've got to fight and win for them. We've all got to dig deeper, push harder, move faster, and be bolder. My friends, we've got to fight like hell. And not just in San Diego, but in San Antonio. And not just in Burbank, but in Birmingham. Because they steered with us. They steered with us when Burbank fell. Now we have to all be there for them. And so these two Americans are finally united as one. And at long last, we tear down that dark wall of discrimination everywhere, for everyone, forever. Thank you very much. And now I have the distinct honor and privilege of introducing two people who, from Wilmington, Delaware, to the halls of power and love. These two people have spent a lifetime standing up for equality. Even before her years in the White House, Dr. Jill Biden has been a tireless advocate for our community. Spoken out on LGBT issues, from youth well-being to anti-bullying efforts, to ensuring that our national dialogue reflects the lives of all Americans, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity. And as Senator, Joe Biden fought tirelessly for hate crimes protections and for the Employment Non-Discrimination Act. And as Vice President, in the most pro-equality White House in history, he has never left the front lines. He has never left the front lines, fighting for the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and the end of DOMA. And of course, we will never forget, just how boldly Vice President Biden came out for marriage equality at a critical moment in 2012. I can assure you, this man is not afraid to speak his mind. is that the Bidens have never shied away from speaking up for us, speaking up for all of us. Because to them, it's just the right thing to do. So now, please join me in welcoming our friends, our heroes, Dr. Jill Biden and the Vice President of the United
States. Hold me close and hold me fast with the magic spell you cast. This is love beyond rose. When you kiss me, heaven sighs, and though I close my eyes,
hold me close and hold me fast. The magic spell you cast. This is love beyond rose. When you kiss me, heaven sighs, and though I close my eyes, I see love beyond rose. When you press me to your heart, I'm in the world apart, a world where roses bloom. And when you speak, angels sing from above. Everyday words seem to turn into love song. Give your heart and soul to me, and life will always be love beyond rose.
I thought that love was just a word sang about in songs I heard. Your kisses could reveal that I was wrong, and love was real.
Hold me close and hold me fast. The magic spell you cast. This is love beyond rose. When you kiss me, heaven sighs, and though I close my eyes, I see love beyond rose. When you press me to your heart, I'm in the world apart, a world where roses bloom. And when you speak, angels sing from above. Everyday words seem to turn into love songs. Give your heart and soul to me, and life will always be love beyond rose.
I feel the love in the air. This party's jumping, jumping. This beat is straight to the heart. Don't know where to start. We are from two worlds apart. True love is like a heart. Love beyond rose is off the charts.